Pleasure today to introduce Mr. Matt Merkle. He's a senior engineer at Toyota Racing Development. Mr. Merkle graduated from Virginia Tech with a bachelor degree in '94 and a Master of Science degree in '97 with honors. His graduate research funded by the U.S. Department of Energy National Renewable Lab. And he focused on improving some of the earliest simulation models for hybrid electric vehicle performance. After graduation, he joined the Tire Vehicle Engineering Technology Group at the Goodyear Technical Center in Akron, Ohio, where he continued his interest in testing and modeling vehicle handling and performance. In 2008, he left to join Toyota Racing Development, or TRD, at their newly created R&D center in North Carolina, performing suspension and instrumented vehicle testing on NASCAR race cars. A one-off project in 2020 was about designing and building a fuel cell power generator. Had some unexpected success, leading to the creation of a new emerging technologies group at TRD. The team's biggest deliverable is a fuel cell powered all-wheel drive plug-in hybrid electric Toyota Tacoma, and that was unveiled at the 2025 SEMA show in Las Vegas. I also happen to know that Mr. Merkle was an active participant on the hybrid electric vehicle team at VirginiaTech. This is a program I am also associated with. We have a long history with this competition and this team, going back years. So it's great and encouraging to see that our programs lead to produce high caliber experts. So we're very proud, and thank you very much for visiting us today. And without further ado, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Thank you for the introduction. Thanks for being here today. I didn't realize that all that was going to be read. That's half my presentation, so you can zoom out if you want. I'm also not very good at doing presentations, so I hope you'll bear with me. If you've got any questions, please feel free to interrupt me as we're going through. But yeah, I am a Hokie, and you're all Hokies. And hopefully one of the things you take away from this is nothing else from your college experience. It's just the power of Hokies. So it's a great network out there when you're out there looking for a job. So just go Hokies. My presentation today is titled From First Generation Hybrids to the Next Generation of Fuels, a 30-year engineering arc. Basically, I've been in the automotive engineering world for about 30 years, which kind of is amazing to say. It's gone in a blink of an eye. You'll be surprised at how quickly 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, you're celebrating 15 years at a company. It goes by fast. So I'd like to just kind of cover what I've done in the last 30 years, some highlights, and we'll go through that. Again, since I'm not doing presentations very often, I asked some friends for some tips, and they said, well, you need to get your audience with a hook. So there you go. I am a fraud. We okay?
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, okay.
So that we see the fraud.
Okay. Yes. So yeah, there's the hook. I am a fraud. The work herein is not 100% my own. I actually used AI to help. I've been a reluctant adopter of AI. I am not a fan of data centers hogging power, but I recognize, as a good engineer, as you should as well, we need to use all the tools that are available to us, and AI is a great tool. So for something like making a slide deck, making a presentation, summarizing results, let AI do the mundane work that you shouldn't be wasting your time on as an engineer. So yeah, being a good engineer means keeping current on what's out there. And again, AI is just a tool. It's still up to you as engineers to actually make sure that the answer is right. So yeah, 30 years, same engineer, but the world has changed. Back in 95, 96, 97, when I was doing my graduate work, there were no mass-produced hybrid vehicles. I know today, everywhere you look, especially on Toyotas, you see badging that says HEV, hybrid electric vehicle. Hybrids just didn't exist back then, if you can imagine that world. The U.S. Department of Energy was funding both research and some of the competitions that were mentioned. The hybrid electric vehicle team was part of that. That the automakers knew this was a new and growing field, but let's put some money into it. Let's work on research. Let's work on modeling and try and get ahead of the ball on this. So again, a new, very niche area that we were working on. And so with the hybrid electric vehicle team at Virginia Tech, we actually created 2 cars during my tenure there. We had a Dodge Neon in the 95 Hybrid Electric Vehicle Challenge, and we had a Chevy Lumina for the 96 and 97 Future Car Challenges. Nowadays, though, 30 years later, every major manufacturer has some sort of electrified vehicle. It could be a battery electric vehicle, be a hybrid electric vehicle. We even have fuel cell electric vehicles that I'll be talking about. And at Toyota, my parent company, 47% of new vehicles, I need my glasses here, are electrified. And with the new car market, hybrids actually make up almost a quarter of brand new cars. So I was part of the team that designed and built these early hybrid vehicles at Virginia Tech, and was proud to be part of a team that we built the world's first fuel cell powered all-wheel drive plug-in hybrid electric vehicle that we unveiled last year in Las Vegas. So basically the industry finally caught up to things that we were doing in Virginia Tech 30 years ago. And a takeaway from this is your senior project, your graduate research, you could be doing something that is industry changing. And I got to say, from the lab tours that I saw today, you guys are definitely doing some really fascinating stuff. You definitely will be on the forefront. And I look forward, as an alumni, looking forward to reading the alumni magazines and seeing what you guys do in the next 5, 10, 20 years. So my graduate research at Virginia Tech, again, it was with the U.S. Department of Energy, working on hybrid vehicles. But let's start a little bit with some background. What exactly is, in this case, a series hybrid electric vehicle? There's parallel, there's series, and there's split. For my discussion here, I'm just talking about the series vehicle. And with a series hybrid, you have a combustion engine, typically gasoline. All it's doing is acting as an electrical power source. It has a generator attached to it, and it's providing electricity for the rest of the vehicle. You have power electronics, and again, this is a great place to talk about power electronics, power processing, taking that 3-phase AC that's coming in from the alternator, converting it to DC through some sort of rectification and buck boost system. That goes to the high voltage battery, which then drives the electric motors, which again, you have converters that take high voltage DC, convert that to 3-phase AC, well within some of the research you guys are probably doing here. And so basically we separate the combustion engine from driving the car. In your regular gas-powered car, the engine is what moves you. In a hybrid, by separating those two, we could actually improve the efficiency of the engine by decoupling those physically. So again, back in 95, there were no mass-produced hybrids. So simulation was really the only way to validate your designs, to figure out what sort of control strategies do I adopt? What sort of battery sizing do I use? How much power do I need? There was no data on that. So by developing models, by running simulations, that helped kind of get us in the ballpark of where we needed to be to develop hybrid vehicles. And the DOE needed performance models to help guide their investments in research and development. How much should be spent on battery research? How much should be spent on 3-phase inverters? How much should be spent on fuel cells or generator packs? So again, Virginia Tech, along with about a dozen other universities, we were on the forefront, again, 30 years ago, of helping the big 3 automakers, helping the Department of Energy figure out what does the path forward look like on this? So a little trivia for you. When was the first hybrid vehicle produced? Any guesses?
Late 90s?
You're off.
Yeah.
1899, actually, by Porsche. It surprised me too when I looked this up, just to give you guys some trivia. So back then, it was a series hybrid. He basically took a combustion engine, was driving a generator. Didn't say not whether he had batteries or not, but it was providing an electric motor. And initially, that was simple. But as combustion engines improved, basically they had more horsepower, more efficiency. They were cheaper. So even though Porsche produced about 300 hybrids, they eventually just gave way to the regular combustion engine. And my second trivia question for you, just to make sure that you're still awake this afternoon. What's the world's most powerful series hybrid vehicle?
The Formula One car? The Formula One? No.
Good, it's a good guess. They are hybrid. And the clue here is I've also got an asterisk after vehicle. So it's not necessarily a car. In China, the Chen 24 is a diesel electric locomotive, nearly 29 megawatts, which is a ton of power. So most locomotives are actually series hybrids, diesel electric. Again, random trivia you wouldn't think of, but again, by decoupling that combustion engine from the drivetrain, you can run it at a peak efficiency point. And when you're talking a few miles per gallon, moving the needle 10%, 20%, that's a lot of fuel savings. So yeah, nearly every modern locomotive is a diesel series hybrid. So again, back to my time at Virginia Tech. And I apologize for the low quality pictures, but you have to remember, this is 1995. Camera phones didn't exist. Digital cameras barely existed. So when you see people not paying attention and looking off, that's because this was a film camera. You didn't know what your picture was until a week later when you got it back from the processing. So again, I was part of that very first team that we started with the Dodge Neon with Dr. Doug Nelson. Originally called the Hybrid Electric Vehicle Challenge, which then morphed for 96 and 97 into the Future Car Challenge with the Chevy Lumina. And again, the Department of Energy and the Big Three were the sponsors, and they gathered up basically the 12 best universities in the US. Obviously, Virginia Tech was part of that, based on our proposals of what would we do with a brand new car? How would you convert it to an alternative fuel? So with the Dodge Neon, we actually we had a partnership with GE in Salem, Virginia. They make electric motors. They were looking at city transit buses, but we adopted their electric motor to actually power the front-wheel drive version of the Dodge Neon. And we had a 3-cylinder, 1-liter gas engine out of a Geo Metro that in the Neon we converted to run on compressed natural gas, which again is probably the simplest and cleanest of the hydrocarbon fuels. And then we adopted that in the Chevy Lumina, except we used liquid propane as our fuel. And I looked for a picture, I couldn't find it. There are stories out there, it was even in the CT many years ago. Because we had propane for our Lumina, we actually partnered with Kroger. We showed up at several of the games for tailgating because we could plug our gas grill right into the fill port on our propane-powered car. So again, the simulation work I was doing, we're improving on some of the earliest models, looking at fuel economy, the powertrain, driving dynamics, and again, simulation. When you can't always test it, when it's not affordable, when you're on time constraints, simulation is the way to go.
Matt, where are you in that picture? Are you in
I think I took the one on the left, and I am on the third there from the, not terribly smiling there, but I was there. So yeah, if you're bored someday and you want to hop online and look up all the old theses of Virginia Tech graduates, I am in there for 1997 with the exciting topic of variable bus voltage modeling for series hybrid electric vehicle simulations. Again, this was funded research from the Department of Energy, and they had developed some MATLAB Simulink code that was very basic. Again, it's a beta version, or maybe even an alpha version. It's very, very crude. It's very, very simplistic, because nobody has models at this time. And so my research contract through the Department of Energy at Virginia Tech was basically take these individual components that we have, the batteries, the generator, the motor, come up with better models for these and come up with things that are more accurate, have better fidelity. So I took the block on the lower left was the original block from the Department of Energy, and you can see it doesn't matter the details, but it's just a few blocks. It's taking some power in, some power out. I wound up expanding upon that and really diving into depth on how do we model the batteries, how do we model the generator, take these very simple assumptions that the DOE had made just to get the thing running and actually improve it enough that we got really good results. And so over my year of research, that's what I did. So after leaving Virginia Tech, I followed another Hokie, my graduate school office mate, up to the Goodyear Technical Center in Akron, Ohio. It is not a path that I thought I would take. And again, this is the part of the 30-year career arc I mentioned. Didn't see this coming. I was always a car person, always liked working on cars, found them fascinating, thought I was going to work for a Ford or GM or a Chrysler. And a fellow Hokie called me up one day and said, "Goodyear's hiring, are you interested?" I went up for an interview, and the next thing you know, I've got an offer, and I actually didn't look anywhere else. So that's also just a nugget for you is follow unexpected or unplanned leads. Sometimes they might take you to a good outcome. So I worked in the Tire Vehicle Engineering Technologies group, specifically in the Vehicle Dynamics group. So we're doing instrumented vehicle testing. I'm working with the test drivers on the test track. We're doing subjective testing where the driver is basically rating tires or rating a vehicle on a 1 to 10 scale. We also did objective testing. This is where we've got instrumentation on the vehicle and we're actually measuring the response of the vehicle. And again, the theme throughout all of this is measure, simulate, improve your model, and iterate. So you can't always test, the weather changes, you don't have a tire available, but if you have suspension data, if you have tire data, you can run a simulation. And we even got to the point that we're building early neural networks of taking basically car feedback and trying to correlate it with driver subjective ratings. Could we predict what a test driver would say a particular tire combination would rank on the test track? And that was many years ago, and we actually were starting to get pretty good correlation. I'm sure today it's much better than that. So again, my particular responsibilities, I was working on instrumented vehicle testing. Some examples are shown there, everything from the old 7-passenger minivan. In the middle there, we have, I think it's a Kenworth truck. We were doing everything from small vehicles, a Ford Escort, up to military vehicles, tractor trailers. It was an interesting career with a lot of different interesting vehicles. And on the sort of the middle right there, that is what's called a kinematics and compliance machine. This is used for measuring the geometry of a vehicle suspension, the stiffness of the springs, how things move in reaction to forces applied. Again, it lets you build a mathematical model for a physical component. In this case, you're building a model of a full vehicle suspension. And again, the kind of non-obvious connection of going from doing research on hybrid vehicles to working at a tire company. Again, vehicle dynamics, it's modeling. It's thinking about things in the physical sense. And so the modeling skills I had at Virginia Tech working on Simulink, I was able to apply those at Goodyear. We had different modeling software, but the same sort of thing that you have building blocks that represent feedback loops. And again, you're trying to simulate because at the end of the day, simulation, it's just more efficient. And after about 10 years at Goodyear, I followed some of my colleagues down to North Carolina. Toyota decided to get involved with NASCAR. Do we have any NASCAR fans in the building? That's okay. I'm not really a NASCAR fan either, but it was a new job opportunity. And again, kind of got outside my comfort zone. I really wasn't interested in it, but I was looking for a new career, a new change of pace. So went with the opportunities that Toyota afforded.
You have a couple of fans in the Zoom.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Excellent. Now, I do encourage everybody to check out a NASCAR race. It is quite amazing. Even if you're not a fan of the racing, it's just a sight to behold. So initially my work at Toyota, again, we had a kinematics and compliance machine. So we've got one of our Lexus race cars shown there. So very similar to the work I did at Goodyear. So it was a very transportable skill. Also the instrumented vehicle testing. Instead of testing minivans and tractor trailers, now I'm testing on race cars. So it's the same thing, but a whole lot faster. And that's what engineering and racing teaches you. I mean, you have to have all your good fundamentals, but racing is quick. Not just the race itself, but we're racing every weekend in NASCAR. So if you want to make a change, you have to, test, analyze, simulate, repeat. Has to be quick, has to be efficient, has to be accurate. So there's really a time crunch on anybody that's working in the racing field. And again, once again, it kind of bridged from Goodyear to Toyota. The expertise that I built up in testing, working with vehicles, now it's just much faster vehicles. And so at Toyota, we had a one-off project that was kind of a curveball, and I'll get into that. A fuel cell generator project that came along and actually quite substantially changed my career path. But first, I want to get into a little bit of just the basics of how a fuel cell works, kind of the history and science behind it. Have people heard of hydrogen fuel cells before? So basically, a hydrogen fuel cell, it's been around for about 200 years. It was invented by Sir William Grove in the UK. The NASA missions, so the Apollo spacecraft in the 1960s, they used fuel cells for generating power. If you've watched the Apollo movie with Tom Hanks, I mean, that had fuel cells on it. So it's been around for a while. Basically, the way it works, it's an electrochemical battery. You've got what's called a proton exchange membrane in the middle. And the graphic kind of shows you on one side, you have the hydrogen fuel coming in, so a bunch of H2 molecules. This proton exchange membrane allows the charged hydrogen proton to slip through, but it traps the electron on the other side. So you have, oh, I guess it doesn't show up great, but you've got your charged protons making it through the membrane. The electrons build up on one side, and now you've got a negatively charged pole. Those electrons want to complete the loop, so they actually provide an electrical current, come through to the other side. On the other side, we've got air, just regular air in the atmosphere. A lot of nitrogen, but we also have some oxygen that's available there. The oxygen with these free electrons, with these H2 protons, think back to 8th grade chemistry. If I have H and I have some O's, I can get water, exactly. So we don't have combustion, we have a chemical reaction. Our only byproduct is pure water. So there's no noise, there's no smell, there's heat, because this is a chemical reaction, but our only byproduct from a fuel cell is perfectly pure water. And that's what matters, is that this is a way of generating electricity, of generating power, but at the source, true zero emissions, just water. It is about only 50% efficient, which sounds a little low. I thought it would be higher than that when I first got involved. But when you compare that with a gasoline engine that maybe maxes out at 35% and on average is probably in the 20s, fuel cells are more efficient compared to combustion, but there's still heat that you have to remove. So that's one of the keys that matter. And in this case, the energy is stored as high pressure hydrogen gas, typically in the range of 4,000 to 10,000 PSI. So these are reinforced tanks, but you can basically think of a hydrogen fuel cell. It's, again, a chemical battery, but instead of recharging it like you recharge your phone at night, you actually just refuel it. So your energy storage is actually in these high pressure tanks. And again, we've kind of touched on this, but why hydrogen? Why these fuel cells? It's true zero emissions. When these things are running, they produce just pure water. So no carbon dioxide, no NOx's, no particulates. So things that diesel engines and gasoline engines, even ones burning clean fuels like propane or natural gas, are still putting out CO2. With a fuel cell, absolutely there's no emissions other than water. You can stand there at the tailpipe, you can breathe it in all you want. Technically, I'm supposed to say you're not supposed to drink the water because there could be bacteria in it, but if you run it through a filter straw, you're good to go. You probably won't enjoy it because it's effectively distilled water. There's no sodium, there's no minerals in it, so it'll actually kind of lack taste and feel a little different compared to the water that you're used to drinking from a bottle. So again, clean, no greenhouse gases. It's also infinitely renewable. It's the most common element in the universe, and we can generate it anytime we want. Basically, as you take the hydrogen and the oxygen combine to produce water and electricity, you can inject electricity into water and split it back into hydrogen and oxygen. So it's called electrolysis. And that's one way that hydrogen is commercially made, is to take electricity, whether it's from the grid or maybe it's from a renewable resource like wind power or solar power, split water into its two atoms, and we've got hydrogen that, again, simply gets recombined to produce electricity and, again, zero emissions. You will hear the terms, if you ever get into the hydrogen world, green hydrogen, blue hydrogen, gray hydrogen. I think there's even a brown. Hydrogen has no color. Hydrogen is hydrogen, but where did it come from? So the green hydrogen, it's really more of a marketing term. That means I took my solar and wind power to split water. Everything is green. That's green hydrogen. If I took natural gas, CH4, and I split it down to get the hydrogen atoms out of that, hydrogen molecules, if I capture the CO2 that's a result of that process, it's blue hydrogen. If I don't, it's called gray hydrogen. Doesn't really matter. It's all hydrogen. But if you ever hear those terms jockeyed about, that's what the background is what was the energy used to actually produce the hydrogen. What's really exciting is there's a study last year that researchers estimate that in the Earth's crust, there's about 6 trillion tons of naturally occurring hydrogen. This could be enough hydrogen to meet global energy demands for centuries. Now, we all rely on fossil fuels. We all are filling up with gasoline or diesel. We all have heard that at some point that's going to run out. Nobody knows when, but again, they're not, dinosaurs are gone. We're extracting what's left of them. who knows how many are left. This is a ton of hydrogen that is available naturally. At this point, it boils down to economics. Is it cost effective to go get it? But this was really eye-opening last year in this field that there could be a lot of, again, green energy trapped waiting for us to tap that. And really to produce electricity and to produce water, things that are great to have. Hydrogen does have a few challenges. It's not perfect. Again, being the smallest element, it's hard to make sure that everything is leak-proof. We have special fittings that have to be controlled precisely for tightening. The good news is it's also the lightest element. So if you do have a small leak, it's 17 times lighter than air. It's 57 times lighter than gasoline vapors. It's going up in the atmosphere. So you don't have to worry about a pool of hydrogen gas building up somewhere and potentially being a flame hazard. It's not compatible with a lot of metals and elastomers. There's a term called embrittlement that basically the hydrogen almost attacks certain metals. It makes them more susceptible to breakage. So you do have to make sure that you're using something that is rated for hydrogen. And again, back to the flammability. Whenever we show up at a public event, we always get the question, is this the next Hindenburg, which was a dirigible that was fueled by hydrogen, famously crashed and burned. Yes, hydrogen is more flammable, but again, it's light. So if there is a leak, it's probably just gone up in the atmosphere where it's dissipated. It does burn nearly invisible if there is a flame. So we have special sensors that can detect that heat signature. We also just have H2 sensors that will detect a leak before there is any opportunity for flame. So that's kind of the background of hydrogen fuel cells. And where this is relevant is in 2021, somebody reached out to us, Toyota Racing Development, the country of Qatar in the Middle East. The government there was seeking a desert-rated fuel cell generator. So if you read between the lines here, a country in the Middle East is looking for something that runs on hydrogen. Basically, they know the end of fossil fuels is coming at some point. It's not going to be next year, might not be 2 years, might not be 5 years. The Middle East is already looking at hydrogen as the next fuel. And so they wanted to see, could somebody demonstrate a proof of concept of, could you build a generator that can run in high temperature, sandy environments and produce clean energy? And the quote that we got from the representative was that those who had experience didn't want to tackle the project, and those that were interested didn't have any experience. With TRD, we're in the unique position that Toyota Motor Corporation, my parent company in Japan, has been working on fuel cells for decades. And by being in the race industry, we're used to unique challenges, we're used to rapid response, and we've got a wide variety of skill sets in our wheelhouse for design, engineering, fabrication, electronics, and controls. So we went to upper management with this proposal and said, we'd like to tackle this. One of the challenges, if you remember back in 2021, we're still in the midst of COVID. We're still wearing masks. There's still supply shortages. Many parts had month-long lead times. Also, there's complex legal agreements. So I have a parent company in Japan for a company in the US building something for use in the Middle East. On the Toyota side alone, I think we had 14 lawyers that spent 6 months on the paperwork. So when this project was first discussed at the beginning of the year, it wasn't actually signed off until about August, maybe early July. So half the year was already gone just getting the legal documents squared away. And they wanted it by the end of the year to be unveiled at a soccer game in the Middle East. So that was our deadline, was have it ready by end of Thanksgiving before Christmas. Amazingly, despite all the challenges, we finished this, the project that's, or the graphic that's shown there in the lower right, that's the actual proof of concept that we built. Managed to do it in 12 weeks. We still look back at that and don't know how we did that. But in general, it provides about 50 kilowatts of three-phase AC power. For reference, your typical house, you're using between maybe 1 and a peak of 10 kilowatts. So this could actually power several houses concurrently. Again, because they wanted to use this in the desert, we had to make sure we had adequate cooling. And again, because of the supply shortages, the top half there is actually a series of radiators and fans that we stole from Lexus. They're actually the fans and radiators out of the Lexus RCF coupe. Just because we could get them out of the Toyota warehouse, we couldn't get the fans and radiators we wanted, but that's what we had. So there's 5 Lexus radiators and fans in that top hat portion of the generator there. And again, you get water. This particular unit at full power, we're getting about 4 gallons an hour of just pure water. And 2020, well, end of 21 rolled around and Qatar backed out of the agreement. Didn't say why. Our contact stopped answering his email. We even tried faxing him. We just heard nothing. So upper management had already signed off on the budget for this. Toyota Motors North America owned this. And so now we're stuck with a fully functioning fuel cell generator. What do we do with this? One option was to just put it away, scrap it. But we decided to, make lemonade out of our lemons, exploit this opportunity. Again, Toyota has been working on fuel cells for decades. So here's a chance to take it out there, show the public. Here's things you can do with fuel cells. And really outside of California, you probably don't even know, Toyota actually makes a fuel cell powered car. It's available in Japan, parts of Europe, but in the United States, you can only get it in California. So unless you've been over there, you don't realize fuel cell cars actually exist. Toyota's been researching fuel cells since the early 90s. The Toyota Mirai is our mass-produced sedan. We've got about 25,000 out in the world. And the reason for not having them worldwide, not having them elsewhere in the US, is it's a chicken and egg game. You need refueling for your hydrogen. So do you build a refueling infrastructure for a car that doesn't exist or only exists in small volumes, or do you wait until the infrastructure exists to start building your car? The state of California took the lead there, and they actually partnered with Toyota on installing fueling stations throughout the state of California. So if you live in California, you can buy a Mirai. You can go to a refueling station in California. Refueling is about as easy as gasoline. It's about a 3-minute fill-up job. And you've got 400 miles of range on the current Mirai. So it works, but it's moving a very large infrastructure mass that doesn't want to move. There's gas stations everywhere. Why would I want to put in a hydrogen refueling station? So that's really the problem that we're facing in trying to promote this technology. So upper management, again, we've got this generator. Need to do something with it. They gave us a little bit of seed money. So we actually took it around the US. It went on a tour. First stop on the lower left there, we went out to Palm Springs, California, to the LPGA, the women's golf tournament. Chevron was the title sponsor that year. They happened to produce hydrogen among their other fuels. So we partnered with them to actually power one of the reception stages. And again, it's our chance to showcase to the public, here is clean energy technology that is available today, if you're interested. Went across the country, made a few stops. We stopped up in Michigan for an event with the state senators, made it all the way down to Florida, shown there in the middle. This 12-hour race at Sebring is a fairly famous sports car race. Lexus has some car entries there. So we actually powered the Toyota hospitality tent that's shown in the middle there. Same generator, just rewrapped it with some different vinyl. And we were actually using it to recharge some of the new Lexus EVs that had been introduced that year. And as a result of this, spending the year kind of showcasing fuel cell technology to the general public, we got a lot of great feedback. Again, it's just dealing with the public that doesn't know these things. So we got a little bit of seed money to actually create a new emerging technologies group. So I was the second employee of that group. There's 5 of us. And one of our first things was to take this existing proof of concept that, again, was built during COVID, wasn't optimized for anything other than, can you get it done in the short amount of time that we had? So we upgraded to the 2nd generation fuel cell that was now available from Toyota that was used in the current Mirai car. It produces 85 kilowatts of power, so roughly a 50% improvement on power. It's a smaller package. So we took the original proof of concept that was about 5,500 pounds. And again, large box. You can see people in the background for reference. So this thing stood about 7 feet tall. We actually shrunk it down, so about half the size, half the weight that it fits in the back of a Toyota Tundra. And we ended up building 2 of these that we then took around to various racing events that Toyota was participating in, again, to power the hospitality areas. So typically, if you go to a racetrack, you'll hear the constant drone in the background of diesel generators. Everybody has a large diesel generator chugging away, churning away, sometimes producing black smoke that you definitely don't want to be inhaling. We showed up and showed people there's an alternative to that. There is hydrogen, it's quiet, it's clean. Look, we're actually producing clean water that we're using to water flower beds, water grass. So again, it wasn't really maybe pushing the technology forefront, but it was pushing the PR front with the general public just to educate folks. So then we got our next challenge from Toyota R&D in Michigan, and they said, there's a show held yearly called SEMA, Special Equipment Marketing Association. It's a lot of proof of concept cars. It's a lot of accessories. It's a huge chance to show off new vehicles, new technologies. And the R&D group said, we would like to do something different this year. And they tasked us with coming up with the, as they dubbed it, the H2 Overlander, little play on words there, H2O, Overlander Tacoma. So overlanding is basically taking your truck, your four-wheel drive vehicle, taking it off-road for enjoyment, for pleasure, but also with the idea that, again, you're leaving it better than you found it. And so this is a perfect example of, here we've got a vehicle that produces no emissions. So it's fuel cell powered. It's all-wheel drive, so it has the off-road capability. It's a plug-in electric. So those are some of those cars already exist out there where we've got a small battery pack you can plug in at night. So we've got a battery pack that gives us about 50 miles of pure battery range. Then we also have the onboard hydrogen tanks that give us another 300 miles of range. And the question was, why would you pair a fuel cell with a battery? We've got the fuel cell, we've got the battery. Fuel cells are great for steady state. That's why they're good for generators. They're not great at transients. They will respond to them, but batteries are better at that. Also, in electric vehicles, in your hybrid vehicles, regenerative braking. When you're slowing down, you can actually turn that motor back into a generator, push power back into the batteries. So you need something to capture that energy that gives you your improved efficiency. So by powering a fuel cell with a battery, we get the best of both worlds. We get the responsiveness of the batteries, the ability to have regen, but then the tanks of hydrogen give us the long range that we need. And again, the zero emissions. So yeah, the power flow, again, we've kind of run through all of this, but we've got the fuel cell stack, we've got the batteries, we have to match all of that. Again, power electronics comes into play here. We have many systems, we have a custom ECU handling all of this, and that alone was quite a challenge of getting all the systems talking to each other. One key feature that the R&D execs asked for was a AC export capability. So could you turn this truck into a generator? Could you plug your house into it in a power outage? And we said, yes, you can. So not only can you charge from the grid, charge up the batteries in this Tacoma, but it runs the other way as well. You can run the fuel cell, or you can deplete the batteries and actually push power back out of the Tacoma. Again, 15 kilowatts. It's enough to power your house, power your neighbor's house, power your whole neighborhood perhaps. Power equipment at a work site. You can run everything from a table saw to a plasma cutter or a large welding machine. You can even recharge a stranded Tesla if you happen to see one on the side of the road. The engineering challenges for us, first of all, packaging. Your engineers, that's one of the things that you are probably going to be faced with sooner than later in your career is you have a certain amount of space, can you make things fit? Fortunately, we use CATIA as our CAD package. We had about 4 different designers working on this simultaneously. So everybody's designing their bracket, their part, sharing it on a current drive, and letting everybody see what everybody else is up to, making sure everything fit at the end of the day. And as I alluded to, the systems management with the custom ECU, making all the systems happy. Thermal management, everything produces heat. The fuel cell produces the most heat, but even the most efficient electronics. I heard today that some of the converters you have here are 99.7% efficient, which is stellar. But that 0.3% means there's still heat. So thermal management is always something that needs to be addressed. But again, TRD, our experience on our past fuel cell projects, our experience in racing has proven that now we can handle this. And so a few pictures just to kind of take you through. So the original Tacoma is in top left there. We received that after marketing was done with it. This meant they had taken it off-road. I don't know if you can see it in the picture. The tires were completely trashed. They took it off-road racing through the desert, so everything had a layer of dust on it. They did wash it before they sent it, but every time we took a body panel off, every time we took something out of the truck, red clay dirt would fall out. So we did learn, if nothing else from this project, make sure you start with a clean, brand new vehicle next time. We were also hit with the unexpected issue of tariffs. If you remember, last spring was when tariffs were announced. This particular truck was built in Mexico. Somebody at Toyota Corporate said, we didn't pay tariffs on it. We don't know if they're going to backdate those. So we actually had to undo everything we had started taking apart, take this truck, ship it to Canada, have it inspected, pay tariffs on it, and have it re-imported into the US. So we actually lost about 4 weeks of time just because of that unexpected hiccup. So even though the truck showed up in July, we actually didn't get working on it until the end of July. But beginning of August, bottom left. That was my home for a few weeks. That's the interior of the cab and just all the wires that had to go somewhere. But stripped it down to its frame. You can see in the middle there, the two yellow hydrogen tanks, or two of the three tanks that we use. There's a fuel cell in the middle. Again, a lot of work. And again, this show is in November. We thought we had until the end of October to get it ready. Again, Toyota Corporate's like, oh, we'd like it in Texas in October for a video and film shoot. So it had to be running by October 15th. That's when it was getting picked up. I am proud to say that at about 11:35 p.m. on the 14th, we got it running, just the rear axle, but it moved under its own power. And for anybody that's, and I know it wouldn't apply to this room necessarily, but anybody that has worked in the automotive industry, to basically start with a blank sheet of paper, rip out an existing drivetrain, create an entirely new drivetrain, that's usually a multi-year project. That's usually several dozen engineers. My group is 5 people. Now, we did have help from our fabrication team and our design teams, but even that, even with the additional help of another dozen or so folks, to do all this in 3 or 4 months was pretty remarkable. So the grand reveal was in Las Vegas. There we are. Debbie Byrne is kind of in the center there. She was the chief engineer from R&D who kind of bankrolled this project and gave us the initial inspiration and go ahead. So again, the idea, overlanding, take it off road. We've got a pop-up tent camper there. Haggerty, who provides insurance for vehicles, on their Instagram page pointed out that Toyota unveils a Tacoma that makes its own shower water, because we actually had a water capture device on board. So instead of just dribbling the fuel cell water onto the ground, we actually, I think it's about a 3 or 4 gallon container, so we can actually capture that water. We had a little pump, we had a little spray nozzle, so if you wanted to wash dishes, wanted to take a shower, that was a possibility. And probably the biggest compliment we got, the lower right there is an underhood view. And the biggest compliment we got at the show was people asking us, is this production? One of the things we pride ourselves on at TRD is not only does it work, but it looks good. And so when people looked under the hood and said, this looks factory, this looks production, that was arguably the best compliment that we could have gotten. So yeah, that is my arc of 30 years in the automotive industry that, again, started at Virginia Tech back in 95 doing the, whoops. All right. Are we still on Zoom? Just got a, okay, I had a pop-up show up there. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, started at Virginia Tech, went to Goodyear, went to Toyota. Again, a one-off project that nobody saw coming, ended up being my new career here for the past couple of years. Then that led to the SEMA project, which again was probably the highlight of my my working life. To stand in front of a national audience, in front of the press, and actually unveil something that you did. A lot of 7-day work weeks went into this, a lot of late nights, a lot of cold pizzas, but it was really rewarding at the end of it. And I know it says titled Advice for Seniors, also applies to grad students. I wasn't exactly sure who the audience would be. And this is, I've come back to Virginia Tech a lot in Blacksburg. Again, the Student Projects Lab is where my heart is at, because that gave me my start. If it wasn't for the hybrid electric vehicle team that's in the WARE lab, I don't know where I would have ended up. So I have infinite gratitude to Virginia Tech for the opportunities it afforded me and getting me started on this path that has been remarkable. So when I do go back to campus and I talk to the student projects teams, I always get the question, yeah, what do you wish you had known at age 20 something? So I thought I'd throw a few slides together. You paid no admission fee, so you get the value that you paid for it. Take it or leave it. But if you take away something, I hope you do. So on your career, your first job is not your last job. Follow the interesting problems, seek challenges, but don't feel that you're indebted to an employer. Don't feel that you can't make a change. Skills transfer in unexpected ways. Keep building them. You never know what your next career, what your next job is going to be. So, be curious, keep learning. Teach yourself a new programming language. Learn a new language, Duolingo. Keep learning, because you never know what opportunity is around the corner. Say yes to the unusual, in my case, or maybe even a dull project, because you never know what could be the next big story, what could be the next stepping stone in your career. So Not everything's going to be glamorous, so don't be afraid to tackle something that maybe doesn't excite you. You don't know where it could lead. And I've said this a lot to a lot of our newer hires, and it sounds a bit confrontational, but I'm serious about it too. Evaluate your career trajectory after 5 years. If you're not happy, it's your fault. And I know that sounds a bit confrontational, but at the end of the day, after 5 years, if you're not happy, the only person you can blame is yourself. It's not your employer. Now, ideally, your employer, your boss, your manager, your HR are helping you develop your career. You're finding challenges that excite you. You're advancing your career. You're advancing your knowledge. You're moving up through the company. That's the ideal outcome. If that's not happening, you owe it to yourself after about, let's say, 5 years. If that's not happening, the only person that can make a change is you. So do discuss with your boss, do discuss with your manager, do discuss with HR. If you're not happy, if you need more challenges, don't be afraid to speak up and say, I'm bored. That probably won't happen, but if it does, say so. If you want to change career paths, career trajectories, move to a different group. Again, be creative, be curious. But again, if you're not happy, ultimately the only person you can blame at the end of the day is yourself for not making a change. So again, I hate to be confrontational. It's not in my nature, but ultimately that's what it boils down to is it's up to you at the end of the day. On engineering, I have to admit AI popped these out. They sounded kind of good, so I included them. But yeah, again, modeling is what everything uses nowadays. Testing is limited, particularly in NASCAR. They've cut back on how much testing we can do. So it's more and more simulation. We have full motion simulators available at our facility where drivers will come in. We actually have a replica car that's moving around on powered tracks, 200-degree field of view, stereoscopic projectors, 20,000 watts of audio power. I mean, it's as close to the track as you can get, but it's not the track. So we don't have to worry about rain. We don't have to worry about weather. The crew chief can make a setup change by clicking his mouse on a couple different buttons. So again, simulation is where it's at. You still need to test, you still need to run your models, but again, simulation is critical into most everything. Even the electric circuits you guys seem to be doing here, whether that's using SPICE or some other program. Again, simulate so that you're not wasting time building something that doesn't work or doesn't work as designed. And again, yeah, your research that you're doing today, I have no doubt that I'll be reading about at least somebody in this room in 5 years and 10 years and 20 years. You guys are doing some fantastic research here. And yeah, what you're doing, that could be the next big thing. And just to include a few personal notes, because again, when this comes up in discussion with some of the seniors at the teams, I look back, again, I have the luxury of looking back over a 30-year career, and I still remember what it was like being a student here at Virginia Tech. This applies to everybody in the room here. You're much better than you think you are. We're all our own worst critic. Kind of wish I had felt that way back when I was 18, 19, 20, but I think a lot of us are always second guessing ourselves. We're living up to expectations that don't exist other than in our mind. So yeah, a paradox. Everybody is different, but that's also what makes us all the same. But again, you are good enough. You don't need to live up to anybody's standards but your own, and make sure that those are reasonable expectations. Similarly, and these all kind of blend together. Choosing friends and colleagues that pull you up. If you've got somebody that is disparaging or is always poking fun of you, they're not a friend. Lose that baggage. Find people that you want to emulate. Find people that will raise you up. As I mentioned, if you're not happy in your career, seek out a mentor. Some companies have this already as part of their official programs, but there's nothing wrong with going to your boss or going to HR or going to another manager and saying, I would like a mentor. Now, this doesn't mean they're going to teach you how to do your job. That's not really the role of the mentor. The mentor is teaching you how the company works, teaching you how life works, things like that. So I think it's great. I've done that over the years, both ways. And again, back to UTPROSM. Can't say this enough. I'm sure you've heard it. I've got my pin on today. UTPROSM, that I may serve. Virginia Tech, that is our motto, but we do it better than everybody. So yes, seek out mentors when you're young, but remember to pay it back when you're older. And that's why when Kathleen asked me to speak here, I was absolutely thrilled. I said, I don't know what I'm going to speak about. I don't know if it will be any good, but if I can give back and if anybody can take one thing away from the presentation, it would be to give back as a Hokie. Travel while you're young, while you can, before families, before jobs, before responsibilities kick in. Travel. It's an exciting world out there. Different places, different personalities, different cultures, different foods, different histories. Get out there and see the world. This is one of my pet projects / pet peeves is personal finance. You should be saving for retirement yesterday. Sorry. The next best time is today. Next best time is tomorrow, and then so on and so forth. But a few quotes from here. Ben Franklin, money makes money, and that money makes money. Compound interest. A quote that's been attributed to Einstein, but it wasn't clear if he actually said it, that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Takes money to make money. The sooner that you're saving for retirement, the more money you make. Time in the market beats timing in the market. That's a popular phrase in investing. Really, $1 saved today could be $10 in your retirement career. Now, if you think about it like that, $1, $10, it doesn't sound like much, but at some point you're going to graduate, you're going to get that first new job. A lot of people go, I am going to go buy a new car, a new truck, a new SUV, $40,000, $50,000. That's well within your purview to do that. Treat yourself. You've worked hard, you've earned it. But $50,000 today is $500,000 in retirement potential. So would you rather have $500,000 in the future or that new car today that's only going to depreciate? Or maybe find a balance between the two. Get the slightly used car that's a couple years old and 25 grand, and now you're $250,000 ahead in retirement. Again, almost no high school teaches this. Virginia Tech, unfortunately, really didn't teach this. Nobody talks about personal finance and about retirement. So I'm hoping if I only light a light bulb for one of you, you're going to think twice that maybe instead of this $3 soda, I'll just get the free water, and that $3 I'll sock away in an IRA, and I won't look at it for the next 35 years. And later, when it's a lot of money, you'll think back to this speech and thank me for that. And ultimately, to wrap this all up, life is short. Do what makes you happy. I know it sounds cliche, but when I look back over my career, and again, back to early life, again, of worrying about others that unnecessarily, worrying about the world. When it comes to decisions, just look at the path and do what makes you happy. And so, yeah, it all started right here for me at Virginia Tech in the hybrid electric vehicle program. It led to 30 some years of fun and excitement in the automotive industry, and I wouldn't change a thing. So, any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. This is a fantastic talk, and you're a fantastic speaker, so
Get me to do that.
thank you. So let me open the floor for questions. Any questions?
I have a question from Zoom.
I can start. So I have a couple of questions. So the first one is about the team. Do you have, I'm assuming you have diverse team, electrical, mechanical. Can you talk to us about your team? Because, 5 persons doing what you did is a great achievement. So can you talk to us about the team dynamics, the different disciplines of the team, how you navigated, how did you choose the team and all that?
Yeah, oddly enough, through no direct action on our own, our team is really diverse. So I am the electrical engineer. Our program manager is a mechanical engineer. Although we kind of exchange hats every now and then, he tends to end up doing most of the computer programming. I do some of the mechanical work. We have 2 design engineers that are both mechanical engineers, and we have a technician. But we all come from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different experiences, different ages. And I think that's one of the core strengths, honestly, of my group is that, and I'll stereotype, but there's enough, middle-aged white men in middle America that you don't get, if you have people that are all the same, your answers end up being all the same, your ideas end up being all the same. So having different backgrounds, different experiences, when we get together and talk about how would you solve this problem, everybody brings something different to the discussion. And I did mention it in my slide, but that's the thing I'm always in favor of is, you don't have the best ideas in the world. You might not even have a right idea or a wrong idea, but talk about it with your peers, talk about it with your friends. Collaboration always leads to better outcomes.
Great. Thank you. Any other question? Yes.
I too enjoyed it. It was
you.
really a very nice talk. I'm curious about fuel cells. I hadn't realized they had become such, kind of mainstream at this point. I know years ago they were sort of problematic. They'd work, but then over time, I'm curious about how durable, how is it the kind of thing that you can run this truck for, forever, or is it or is it that you're having to swap different parts of it out?
Good question. I mean, I don't know what the powertrain warranty is on a Toyota Mirai off the cuff of my hand. But I mean, obviously it's used in a road vehicle, so it's experiencing all the bumps and potholes and temperature swings that you're going to experience in a normal car. There is something called an ion exchanger that is a filter that's part of the coolant system. I think that is due for replacement. It's either, I think, 50,000 miles, give or take. So basically it's just a filter that traps free ions that have made their way into the coolant. But in general, I'm sure that there's probably Mirais that have 100, 150,000 miles on them and are still running strong. There is an aging curve, so that if you looked at predicted performance versus age, I think peak power does decline a bit with age, but so does a combustion engine as things get worn out. But yeah, we're at the point that it's a viable power source.
Great, thanks.
Let me pick back on this question. So how do you see the hydrogen market going? How do you see the competition with the electric vehicles, the Teslas? Where do you see the hydrogen fuel market is going to be in 5 years from now or something?
That's a good question. I don't have my crystal ball.
Okay.
Probably the biggest unknown is, you may have seen some of the recent headlines, a company called Donut Labs has been demonstrating solid state batteries, and there's some other manufacturers as well. These quote unquote solid state batteries, I mean, they're 2 or 3 times the energy storage of the conventional lithium battery. So that's the biggest sort of question mark. In California, you can buy more than just the Toyota Mirai. There's a Honda Clarity fuel cell EV. Hyundai has a fuel cell sedan. We have had a partnership with Kenworth. We actually sell a conversion kit to convert Class 8 tractors into fuel cell powered tractors. So there's options out there. And like everything in life, it's driven by capitalism, the dollar. So right now, well, the war in Ukraine was a driving factor that the price of hydrogen, I think it went up like 5-fold as a result of the war. I'm not sure exactly the correlation there, if it interrupted the flow of gas through that region of the world. So if it's cost efficient, the Department of Energy has said that their long-term goal for hydrogen is to get it around $1 a kilogram. When the Mirai first came out, I think it was in California, it was about $5 to $8 a kilogram, which was on a per energy basis a little bit cheaper than gasoline. When the war in Ukraine broke out, it shot up to, I think, $42 a kilogram. Now it's settled back down into maybe around $30 a kilogram. So ultimately, financial interest will drive how successful it is. Also, who you elect in Washington plays an important role. Obviously, as explained here, fuel cells are zero emissions. But if you have elected representatives that don't believe in global warming or don't care about climate change, then and want to bring back clean coal, it's hard to fight those wins. So there's a lot of unknowns. If I could tap my wand, I'd love to see hydrogen available on a widespread basis. And again, our position at Toyota, when you look, people have criticized Toyota for being sort of slow to the EV market. Cautious might be a better word. But we also don't think, and this is both me and me speaking, or rephrasing what the company's position is, there's no silver bullet. It's not just hybrids, it's not just EVs, it's not just fuel cells. Based on the customer, based on where you're at, based on the infrastructure, there's a preferred solution, but not one vehicle will be the perfect solution for everything. So I think hydrogen is great. And again, if that study pans out that there's 6 trillion tons of it trapped in the Earth's crust, that would be fantastic. But unfortunately, yeah, there's some headwinds and a capital market that we have to convince to follow that lead.
Thank you.
Hmm?
One last question I have.
Sure.
What are you working on right now?
That's a good question. Right now, we're building a trailerized version of the fuel cell generator. So instead of putting it in the back of a Tundra, now it's just a small pull-behind trailer, but it's got an off-road suspension. So kind of as a complement to the Overlander Tacoma that we built, this is a generator that you can take off into the wild that, again, can provide electricity for probably an entire campsite and then some. But when it's running, it's quiet and it's producing electricity and water.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Okay, thanks for having me.